So my name is Rif, CEO and founder of FOODit, and Google asked me to talk today a bit about how we're using their cloud platform. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our journey, about getting to where we are today, and about platforms and what we're all about. And I read a book, Lean Startup, and it talks a lot about MVPs all the time. And when I actually look back at the last 12 months, yes, we were going out there trying to test our product, but also test the people and the platform at the same time. So just my background, I was a CEO and a developer for 12 years at a food distribution company that sells food to 45,000 restaurants across the UK. So I'm a bit technical. I had experiences doing stuff, building stuff. I had a great team. But it got to a point in my career where I just wanted to do something else, and JJ's wanted to support me in that process. So I had already funding, which was great, but I wanted to build something. And day one, I had no team. I had an idea of what I wanted to build. I just finished reading Lean Startup and I was ready to go. I was ready to start testing. And I didn't want to do things the way I used to do them. I didn't want to deal with servers and patching and networks and all the other stuff. So I was trying to figure out that, hey, I've got all this money. Now how am I going to get the product out the door as fast as possible and start testing it with real restaurants? So I went out to market and thought about if I could come up with what my MVP looked like, what my product looked like, maybe I could go and work with a couple of different companies. And I thought, well, because I got all this money, let me try and do this all at the same time. And one of the other things I did at the same time was I used 99designs.com to start picking logos. I got like 2,500 entries. It's one of the nice fun things to do when you're starting a startup. So that's me, I guess, standing on the US. And we had 3 development teams in different parts of the world building the same minimal viable product. And I picked 3 different platforms to do that on, to test out 3 different things. The first one, the first thing while doing this I knew was that, like after reading Lean Startup, that I wasn't testing how to build a restaurant website. So FOODit wants to do a whole bunch of things with restaurants. But the main thing what I wasn't trying to do was learn how to build a restaurant website. What I was trying to learn how to do was get a restaurant website to be found on Google as quickly as possible. Learn if restaurants are willing to pay for this service. And also understand if people would trust a restaurant website as a place to order food. And those are the 3 things I was trying to test. So how I was going to build the website, all those things I didn't think was going to affect my startup. So I thought, what's the risk of doing this 3 times with 3 different companies? So I found a company to build on top of a product called Magento. Magento is an e-commerce platform. And I thought the reason I'd want to do that would be if I could get to use the power of Magento, I could get stuff like billing, pricing, vouchers, and all the stuff that a normal e-commerce platform would have into my product as quickly as possible. And the thing I was trying to test by building on top of Magento was, would I get into issues and constraints that, hey, I've got 200,000 restaurants across the world, would Magento scale? Would I have to do really horrible things to the product to make it work the way I want it to work? Because Magento is typically designed for an e-commerce site that has just 1 store or just 1 web page, not 200,000 web pages. So I found a company and we went on this journey to try and build that. At the same time, I'm a big fan of Microsoft, and I wanted to see if I could find a low-cost team in India or anywhere else that could build on top of Azure, Microsoft Azure platform, to build this same product. And I was always a big fan of Google App Engine since 2008, even though my previous job was all Microsoft. And I wanted to see if we could use Google App Engine, which, just as the talk showed before, gives you a lot of the tools out of the box, pre-configured, preset, to build what you want. And I found a team in Australia who are also very much into Lean Startup to do that. The cool thing about the Australian team is they're called 3 weeks. And the reason they're called 3 weeks is that they will get your MVP built in 3 weeks' time. So that set the actual pace for the other three teams around the world to build the product. And the good thing was it made me focus on those things that I wanted to learn. Would restaurants pay for it? Would this happen? Would that happen? And not focus on which database I'm going to pick and which memcache server and which RESTful API and how we're going to lay out the load balancers. In my previous role as a CIO, I found that we would waste huge amounts of time debating pros and cons and ifs for the future 12, 24 months. And when you're in an enterprise environment, you have that luxury. And when you're in a position where you already have like 200 million pounds worth of orders going through a platform, then you have to debate stuff to make sure that you don't just break it the next day. But I didn't want to get back into that world. So I really wanted something like Google App Engine, which says, this is a database you're going to use, this is how you're going to build stuff. You have a certain amount of choice and flexibility, but you're going to remove that away from the developer. Otherwise, you can spend a lot of time fighting and arguing about what is the best choice. But the reality is, that's probably not going to make you win or lose the startup you're trying to build. Like, you have a bunch of things you need to learn, and unless your startup is actually building a platform for developers, you probably want to focus on what is the thing I need to learn and which platform is going to get me there as quickly as possible. So I went out there and tried those 3 different platforms. So Magento, it was just too much for me. Like, I had to break it too much to make it work for my startup, and I felt like within a couple of months would be rewriting everything again. So it didn't work, but it would have given us great a lot of features as quickly as possible, good lot of features as quickly as possible. But 12 months past that now, I've still not used any of those features in my startup, so they would have been redundant. And everything that I've needed has been stuff that we had to build in a custom way. The Azure team, Azure as a platform was great, but the team itself, they were just too developer focused. They needed to take too much of my time and too much specifications. And the team in Australia, those developers are willing to go out to see restaurants and get feedback, and I needed to spend little time with them. And the thing I liked about App Engine was that there was a preset way of doing things, so that as I moved that team from using an external company in-house, those developers, there's a set way of using Google BigQuery, there's a set way of using Google Data Store, and there's a set pattern. So this team in Australia is not deciding, oh, we're going to have 20 servers doing this and 10 servers doing that. They just write the code, and Google App Engine deals with like how many boxes are needed and the pattern of doing it. So in summary, food is yummy. I would argue that if you look at MySpace and Facebook, one was written in Cold Fusion, one was written in PHP. Did it matter to the success or the failures of either company? I would always say, look at your startup. What are you trying to build? What are you trying to learn? And how much technology is a factor for if you're going to win or lose. So today we're talking about some web platforms, but a part of our technology is running a printer in the kitchen of restaurants. And we picked Android to do that because Android, unlike iOS, allows you to control the USB port of the device, so I can plug a printer in without using Bluetooth. So I could not do that on iOS. So look at the thing you're trying to build. I would say that if you want to build something that's very heavy orientated to Facebook, or like if you want to build something for people that use Microsoft Office, there might be other platforms out there that have features that might work better for your startup. Do you need low-level access to your operating system? If you're not developers yourselves, you're going to have a hard time or an enjoyable time like trying to figure out like, is what your developer's saying actually important? Like they're saying, oh, we should use MongoDB, or we should use this, and we should that, and it's going to make it great because X, Y, and Z, but is that what you're trying to learn? So try and stay focused on what's important to be learned. And if your developer feels comfortable building fast on this platform, then maybe go down that route. Trying to get them to switch something and learn something new might take more time. Do you trust what you're building on? There's hundreds and hundreds of platforms to build out there on. If one of them just goes bankrupt tomorrow, then you might have a hard time. So I trust that Google App Engine is going to be there tomorrow. I trust that Google's going to keep developing on it and building it and making it better, which they have proven to have done. And just stay focused on what you're trying to learn, and make sure that the platform you pick is aligned with those things. I'm going to be around here for the rest of the day. I'm also a Google developer expert for cloud, like Steve, for Maps. And that's it. Thank you.